Okay, we're going. So yeah, so what I'd like to do, if it's okay with everyone, is just push this back a half an hour and just do it at 12:30 instead of 12 o'clock
Okay, starting when?
next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Will that be okay?
Yes, okay.
Beautiful.
I'll be
And I'll be,
better, actually.
and I'll be in a different location every Tuesday, I think, but that's okay. That'll work. Okay, so we are on chapter 26, I believe, verse 1. We're going to start with the Mishkan.
20.
I think that's our plan.
26.
Is that right?
That's what I have.
Beautiful.
Mark is a.
All right, let's do it. So chapter 26. Lenore, would you like to read for us?
Yeah, let me just get it. I'm sorry, 26. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okie dokie.
Should we wait or just want to start?
Go.
Okay. As for the tabernacle, make it of 10 strips of cloth. Make these of fine twisted linen of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, with a design of cherubim worked into them.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
What
So-
did you realize?
That the picture of the Kruvim was on this. So wait a second. Make it of 10 strips of cloth. All right. So they're talking about the tent itself. Right. As for the tabernacle, the word literally means dwelling place, since it is the dwelling place of God's presence. Okay. So, wow. Okay. Hold on a second. Ibn Ezra has a really big comment here before we even get into the details. So here's what he says. Abraham, the author, says, before I begin to discuss the tabernacle, which, like the ark, has kruvim, I must give you a general principle on which to rely. There are two ways in which things can exist. One, as a three-dimensional body, and two, incorporeally, like the holy angels or the human soul. God alone created both these ways of being. No created being could create or uncreate a physical object, let alone an incorporeal one. The soul extends throughout the body, but those places where nerves are concentrated, like the eyes and ears, are more sensitive than places like the bones and the liver. God too fills the world, but God's power is more evident in certain places. Thus, a particular place was chosen for the temple. And if God gives you wisdom, you will understand the deeper meaning of the ark, the kruvim, and all the other objects within and outside the tabernacle. I have alluded to all this because some people in our generation who consider themselves scholars might mock my words, but one who knows the mystery of the soul and the body will be able to know aspects of the upper world. For man, the acme of creation is a microcosm of the universe, and the tabernacle is a mesocosm. What's a mesocosm? You don't know what a mesocosm? Hi, Mom.
Hi.
Mesocosm. Hold on.
Anything to do with soup?
A mesocosm is a mental central environment under controlled conditions. Okay.
It's a what? Sorry, I missed that.
An outdoor experimental system that examines the natural environment under controlled conditions. Okay. So let me go back to this. So for man, the acme of creation is a microcosm of the universe, and the tabernacle is a mesocosm, intermediary between the two. According to Hai Ben Sharira, there are 18 different parallels between these three worlds, period. Sorry, between these three worlds. So I
What
guess
three
the
worlds?
three worlds, right, so I'm getting there. So the world as we know it, the tabernacle, and human beings. In general, each cherub, parallel to the angels in the upper world and to thought within man, was made to receive power from the upper world so that the enlightened might be able to develop intellectually. There's no need to discuss this at length. One might wonder how God could leave God's pure angels and cause God's presence to dwell among disgusting human beings. But the presence that God caused to dwell amongst the angels is many times greater than the presence that God caused to dwell among Israel. I'll lead you along the path of truth. Pay attention and you will understand why the cover of the ark has no thickness, why the lampstand is on the right and the table is on the left, and so forth. Once you've understood these, you will even understand the mystery behind the copper serpent. Okay, here we go. Ready? Pay attention now, and I will give a brief explanation of the form of the tabernacle. The 20 planks on each side are held together by the 2 tenons on each plank, which interlock to keep them standing. And there are tenons that fit into the sockets beneath each plank. Both the north and south sides of the tabernacle were 30 cubits long, being made up of 20 cubit and a half wide planks, giving the tabernacle a rectangular shape. The 6 planks on the western side, plus 1/2 cubit for each of the 2 corners, make a width of 10 cubits. Verse 16 tells us the height of the tabernacle, 10 cubits. The cloths were placed lengthwise over the 10-cubit width of the tabernacle, leaving 18 cubits, of which 9 hang down on each side, leaving 1 cubit on each side uncovered. It may have been done this way to keep them out of the mud. Of the 11 goat's hair tent cloths, 10 matched the 10 of the lower cloths, and the 11th cloth was folded over at the entrance to the tabernacle. The tent cloths were arranged the same way as the lower cloths, but were 2 cubits longer, leaving an extra cubit hanging down on each side. Each plank stood on 2 sockets. The 2 tenons of each plank were parallel to each other, one in the front of the plank and one in the back, which fit into matching mortices on the adjacent plank. I'm wondering if I should keep going here.
It's kind of hard to visualize.
It's
You're
very
way
hard to
ahead of where
visualize.
where you read, right?
Say again?
You're way ahead of where Lenore read.
No. This is an introduction. This whole thing is an introduction by Ibn Ezra to this chapter. It's not about anything in particular. I think that, so my takeaway from this first part, at least, is that, hold on a second, that there's a connection between the universe, the tabernacle, and the human body. Then there's God in the universe, God in the tabernacle, meaning the Holy of Holies, and God in people, meaning the soul. I think that's how I understand this.
So God require. I mean, God had them make what you just read according to those specifications. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right, so I also have an introduction, which is a little bit different. It's not quite as intricate into the actual building. It says the tabernacle had 3 or 4 covers, depending on when we get to verse 14, one on top of the other, 2 of them made of fabric and the other of animal hide. They were known as tabernacle, tent, and cover, as will be seen below. It is noteworthy that the one that rested immediately atop the structure's airspace was known simply as Mishkan, tabernacle, implying that the cover represented the function of the entire structure of the same name, tabernacle. By covering the walls and airspace of the building, this cover unified everything that was inside the tabernacle, meaning that the ark, table, menorah, and golden altar were not unrelated vessels, each performing its own separate task, but were parts of a united whole. Indeed, this represents the Torah's philosophy of Jewish life. Learning, ritual, business, and so on do not spin in separate orbits, but work together toward a single spiritual goal. In this sense, the first covering was the tabernacle because it brought them all together. According to Or HaChaim, the 10 curtains of the tabernacle symbolize the 10 sayings on which God created the world. This corresponds to the thesis that the curtains of the tabernacle symbolize the unification of all elements of the tabernacle in the common service of God, just as all parts of creation fused into one universe in consonance with God's overriding will.
That's a mouthful. That is a lot of stuff. Wow.
Oh my gosh. When you nowadays when you Google tabernacle, anyone want to take a guess at what comes up?
Mormon Tabernacle.
Exactly.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. That's funny because they're in the news. I'm trying to describe a good there was a wonderful site that I once knew that had really nice images, but I can't seem to find it. Hello. Oh, there we go. No, that's not good. Well, I don't know if this is a good one, but I'll just throw this up so we can all see it. Just again, so we kind of know what we're talking about here. Hold on a second. Wait, I have to get out of this. How the hell do I get out of this? Chrome, window. Ah. I'm full screen and I don't know how to get out of it.
Escape?
Escape? Yeah.
Yeah, I tried that. I know. It's
Well,
not.
you popped up and unpopped out, and now just your name is on my site with a little.
No, I'm here. I just.
Yeah, it went off.
Well, let me see if I can. Hold on a second. Let me see if this works. My entire screen.
And now you're gone.
Can you see the picture? Or
Well,
no?
the tabernacle, yes. I
Yeah.
see.
Okay. So, so here, if you, I can zoom in a little bit. So you can see that there are multiple layers to the top here, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? Looks like there are multiple pieces of cloth going across there. And you can see that they're about a cubit. So what I was reading is that they stretch about a cubit from the ground so they don't get muddy. And Dina, yours, what did yours say that one of them was called the tabernacle because it kept them all together?
The bottom one, number 12,
Okay.
is called the Tabernacle because that's the one that kind of joins them all together into one thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Okay. All right. Wait, I know my screen's going crazy. Hold on. Okay. Let's see what else we got. All right. So, fine twisted linen, blue, purple, crimson. 4 materials woven into each thread, 1 of linen and 3 of wool. Okay, wait, that's interesting. Why is that interesting?
Because it's
You're not supposed to mix, are you?
Right. That's the one thing the 2 things you're not supposed to mix, linen and wool, and that's how the tabernacle is made.
Maybe that's why we're not allowed to mix.
Maybe, yeah. Since each material is spun of 6 strands, as well as linen, there are 24 separate strands in each thread.
Oh my.
And then there's the design of the kruvim. The design was woven directly in, not embroidered on it afterward with the needle, but woven on both sides. One design on one side, the other on the other. A lion on one side and an eagle on the other, like the silk cummerbunds made here in France. I'm just going to close my door. You all can keep going. Give me 1 second.
I have, the yarn was woven in such a way that different forms would appear on the 2 sides of the material. Had the forms been embroidered through needlework, the same form would have appeared on both sides of the fabric. In addition to the image of cherubim, which are mentioned specifically, the images of a lion, eagle, and ox were woven into the curtains. Thus it contained the 4 images that the prophet Ezekiel saw in his vision of God's throne of glory.
So this is what they embroidered on the tabernacle was actually a prophecy of what he would see. If you want to think of this as working linearly, as time moving linearly.
Yeah, my question becomes, if we've got a lion on one side and an eagle on the other, and an ox somewhere later on, how is that Kruvim?
Say that again.
How is that Kruvim?
No,
Because
those are in addition to the Kruvim.
Well, I have to tell you, I've got that book, The Tabernacle, that
Right.
I've been referring to all along, and I'm not seeing anywhere in that book anything other than eagles and lions. I'm not even seeing oxen, never mind that, but I'm not seeing Kruvim other than the ones on top of the ark. So, do we have someplace else where there are?
Well, so my Rashi made it sound like the that the Kruvim are the lion and the eagle, but then what you read made it sound like they were separate, and then it gave the reason that in Ezekiel's whatever he saw Kruvim and a lion and an eagle.
And an ox.
Sorry, and an ox.
And I'm also not seeing an ox anywhere. But, so I'm looking for the English. With the woven design of Kruvim, shall you make them?
Right, that's all it says.
Yeah.
Does it say anywhere the length of time it took to make this?
It's a good question. Not that I know of.
It seems like a massive undertaking.
Yeah. I think you're right. I can imagine this taking a very long time.
Like a year, maybe, or more.
Rashi talks about the different animals on there.
Lenore, I'm looking up what you just asked about. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. And he says cherubim were depicted upon the panels as they were woven, but not by means of embroidery, which is needlework, rather in the weave itself, on the two surfaces. One picture was on this side and another picture on that. A lion was on this side and an eagle on the other. Doesn't mention the ox, Dina. In a manner that
I think the ox perhaps might come later, although I'm not seeing it. I'm just, that was in the note, as I said.
Right.
But the Hebrew does say Kruvim, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Lenore, just so you know, I found a site that says that it took about 6.5 months to gather the materials and construct the tabernacle.
Wow.
So
I wonder how many people worked on it.
yeah. Well, I wonder, it was right.
Oh,
I wonder, I think the Levites did the building.
that's logical.
But then everyone brought the stuff, I think. I think so, in any case.
There had to be some artisans in there. Oh my gosh.
Well, so we hear about one of them, right? We hear about the main artisan, is the guy named Bitzalel, who we'll hear about later on. He was the chief artisan. Okay.
If you want to go on, that whole next part, it describes stuff that you just talked about.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Do you want to still read it?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. The length of each cloth shall be 28 cubits, and the width of each cloth shall be 4 cubits. All the cloths to have the same measurements. Okay, that's 2.
You can keep going.
5 of the cloths shall be joined to one another, and the other 5 shall be joined to one another. Make loops of blue wool on the edge of the outermost cloth of the one set, And do likewise on the edge of the outermost cloth of the other set.
Let's go ahead and read through 6. Yeah.
Read through 6, okay.
Yeah.
Make 50 loops on the one cloth and 50 loops on the edge of the end cloth of the other set, the loops to be opposite one another, and make 50 gold clasps and couple the cloths to one another with the clasp so that the tabernacle becomes one whole.
This is like IKEA hell. Right? I mean, this is pretty much what the IKEA instructions sound like. And you have no idea what they're talking about.
Really?
Wait, hold on.
I have a math friend who's an
It's
expert
essentially
in
made
mathematics.
in 2 pieces and then zipping together, except the zippers are hooks and clasps.
Right.
I would show you my picture, but it's way too dark. You won't see anything.
The Holy One commanded them to be made in 2 sets, since one set of 10 cloths would have been too heavy to carry. Oh, that makes sense. So there's a very practical reason why they were in 2 sets. They were to be joined in such a way that the design on one cloth would mesh with that on the next. But all 10 were not joined together in order to make a distinction between the Holy of Holies and the rest of the tabernacle. That's 4 now. That makes sense.
So that's very interesting because I'm not sure which, well, it's not the bottom. The bottom cover is the one with the cherubim, right?
Wouldn't that have been the outer cover?
The outer cover. So this is very interesting because, let's see if I can get this. No, my picture of me just froze. Okay, here we go. I don't know if you can see it, but the clasps are not in the middle. They're at the end.
You went dark on us. Oh wait, now you're back.
No.
And now you're gone. Now you're back. There we go.
I don't know how well you can see this.
Yeah.
But the clasps are not in the middle. They're kind of at the end where the Holy of Holies would be, you know, that one smaller section.
I'm gonna
Can you
try
see
and
it in the
grab,
picture? Is the picture close enough?
no, but I'm gonna try and grab a bigger picture. Tell me what part you're showing again.
Well, this is, it's the first covering. According to Rabbi Judah, there were 2 separate covers above the curtains of the Mishkan. One of the ram skins and lying above it another made from the skins of the Tahash. This was the only area of the top of the tabernacle, nothing being allowed for the sides. Wow. I'm looking. No, what I'm reading isn't supporting what I wanted to see, which was that the covering, that first covering, the one we're talking about, that was put together with gold hooks. They look like little buttons, actually. It's not centered. This particular thing is not 5 and 5. It's really 6 and 4.
Then that
which I
doesn't
thought
make,
was very interesting.
yeah,
According
that doesn't
to
make a lot of sense.
2 rabbis. Well, except when you look at it and you see that the separation is closer to the end where the Aron is, then it makes perfect sense that would be the dividing place.
I'm having a hard time visualizing this. I don't understand it because in every picture that I see, the cloth goes all the way from one side to the other. Where is this split? I don't understand this. Is
Well,
it down
because
the middle?
You need to find a picture that shows only the bottom layer, because the other layers are kind of done the other way. The other layers are all one piece, I think.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
So you have to find the picture that shows only the bottom layer.
I'm not seeing anything. All right.
Do you want to go on?
No, let's just see if there are any other comments to, it's hard because, we don't have any good pictures, so it's hard to visualize, at least for me it is.
I'm not saying this facetiously at all, but it would be helpful maybe if we had a blind person who was good at visualizing.
Maybe.
some of this.
The blue wool on the edge, that certainly reminds me of the techelet on the talit, on the tzitzit. In fact, the Hebrew word is techelet. So this is where it comes from, right? This is the first time that we hear about, I believe, techelet. Although I don't see any comments about that, about the techelet.
I thought we had. Did we not have techelet in when we talked about the high priest vestments?
Oh, you're right. We did. Sorry, this is the second time. You're absolutely correct. Yeah. So here's what I'll share about this. Just a quick thought, and that is, there's a real emphasis here on these clasps and the idea of bringing the fabrics and the pieces of this together. And all of the commentaries seem to focus on this oneness, this unification that's happening, so that the tabernacle becomes one whole. Right? The 10 strips of cloth called tabernacle will be a single piece, and that here we go. So, an ordinary object is not called one because it is made up of various smaller units, but God, though God contains everything, is one and is called one. The same is true of the microcosm, man, and the mesocosm, the tabernacle. So this idea of oneness, of unification, is being embodied here in the tabernacle, and it's pointing us to a bigger idea of oneness in the universe, ourselves. That, to me, is one of the takeaways. Which clearly is not very exciting to the rest of you. Okay.
No, it's very
No, I'm kidding.
logical.
I'm kidding.
It is very logical.
I'm kidding. All right, let's go on with verse 7.
Okay. You shall then make cloths of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. Make the cloths 11 in number. The length of each cloth shall be 30 cubits, and the width of each cloth shall be 4 cubits. The 11 cloths to have the same measurements. Do you want me to go on?
Yeah, you can keep going.
Join 5 of the cloths by themselves, and the other 6 cloths by themselves, and fold over the 6th cloth at the front of the tent.
So that 6th cloth is the door, essentially, it sounds like.
Make 50 loops on the edge of the outermost cloth of the one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the cloth of the other set. Oh my gosh. Make 50 copper clasps and fit the clasps into the loops and couple the tent together so that it becomes one whole.
There we go again.
You're one.
Right, yeah.
As for the overlapping excess of the cloths of the tent, the extra half cloth shall overlap the back of the tabernacle, while the extra cubit at either end of each length of tent cloth shall hang down to the bottom of the 2 sides of the tabernacle and cover it. Oh my, visualize this. And
Okay, that's the picture I tried to show you before. Okay, go ahead.
And make For the tent, a covering of tanned ram skins and a covering of dolphin skins above.
Why are there 4 layers?
I don't know. Oh, that's confusing.
Right? Why? I wonder why. For this roof of goat's hair cloths, make still another covering of tanned ram skins, and above it yet another covering of dolphin skins. These latter 2 covered no more than the roof, having dimensions of 30 by 10. All this is the opinion of Rabbi Nehemiah. But according to Rabbi Judah, this was a single covering, half of ram skins and half of dolphin skins. Interesting. Okay.
Would it have anything to do with protection for the tabernacle?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know.
We always think of a roof as protective, so.
So-
Okay, wait a
The
minute,
one
wait a
thing
minute.
I have here says that
That there were 4 coverings is inferred here from instructions concerning the temple, whose 4 ceilings are taken to correspond to the 4 covers of the tabernacle.
so that doesn't tell us why the tabernacle had 4 covers. It tells us why the temple had 4 roofs or 4 ceilings, which I didn't know. But this
No,
says
it's saying that this is, well, it's a precursor
Right.
again.
right,
Yeah.
but it's still not telling us why. It's not giving us the why.
One does not ask Hashem why.
I do. I ask Hashem why. So
Yeah, do you get answers?
well, Ibn Ezra gives me an answer. He says, "And make for the tent a covering to protect the goat's hair covering from the rain."
That's what I had feeling. It had to be protective. The roofs are always protective.
So we're protecting the goat's hair with tahash,
With
loosely translated as dolphin.
ram skins or dolphin skins, right? And sorry, both. Right. Wow, the commentaries spend so much
So
time.
I'm back to those pictures where the clasps are off center.
Yeah, we still can't see you. Your internet is cruddy today. Sorry.
Well, because I'm on my computer instead of on my laptop today. Instead of on my iPad.
This is the
The computer would be better.
You'd think the computer would be better, but
Yeah.
it's not.
the commentaries spend an inordinate amount of time examining the details of this. It's really sort of fascinating. I mean, I think that in large part they did this so that we would know how to replicate it. Okay.
Oh my goodness. They weren't thinking ahead of technology.
Well, when the third temple is being built, we need to know how to do this stuff. So they spent a lot of time making sure that we knew, what to do.
Well, when the second temple was built,
Sorry, no, right. I forgot. This is even pre first temple, right? Well, actually, no, wait a second.
this is only for the wilderness,
Right,
though,
this
right?
is just for the tabernacles. But like you said, the temple was modeled on the tabernacle. So,
So you got one taken care of, but what about?
so I wonder why this was so important then. If they weren't going to have to rebuild this, why are these details so important?
Well, here's the question: as they travel through the wilderness, does this whole thing doesn't get carried? It gets taken apart and put back together each time.
Oh, so this is basically providing them with the information they need to take it apart, put it back together.
I think so,
Yeah.
because the individual pieces get carried. That's why we have the staves in the
Right.
showbread table and in the ark.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Freda, you're on mute and you have nothing to add, huh?
Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Can't hear.
And now
Just
she's
popped back.
disappeared.
Went away.
All right, let's keep going.
You shall make the planks for the tabernacle of acacia wood upright. The length of each plank shall be 10 cubits, and the width of each plank 1.5 cubits. Each plank shall have 2 tenons.
Mm-hmm.
Parallel, what's a tenon?
It's a little piece that sticks out like a knob, and then there's going to be a hole corresponding to it for it to fit into.
Oh, okay. Parallel to each other. Do the same with the planks of the tabernacle. Of the planks of the tabernacle, make 20 planks on the south side, making 40 silver sockets under the 20 planks, 2 sockets under the 1 plank for its 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under each following plank of its 2 tenons. And for the other side wall of the tabernacle, go on the north side, on the north side, 20 planks with their 40 silver sockets, 2 sockets under the 1 plank, and 2 sockets under each following plank. And the rear of the tabernacle to the west, make 6 planks, and make 2 planks for the corners of the tabernacle at the rear. They shall match at the bottom and terminate alike at the top inside 1 ring. Thus shall it be with both of them. They shall form the 2 corners. Thus there shall be 8 planks with their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under the first plank, and 2 sockets under each of the other planks.
So here are your IKEA instructions for building the tabernacle.
I was just gonna say, what's this? Oh my gosh.
I was thinking as you were reading this, it would be hysterical to have the whole book for building, because I mean that really is what this is. It's so funny.
I didn't know you were serious about this IKEA thing. Oh my gosh.
Well, I wasn't really, but I mean this is really funny. I mean it's about as it's just so the detail is so rich. It tells you exactly, you need the male and the female part so that they fit together and exactly where to put them.
That's where I've been. I've been trying to find something like that to give me a picture, because I've been just so confused that I
It's very confusing. Rabbi David, maybe you could find the person from IKEA who did that work.
Yeah, well, that wasn't from IKEA. That was from some other site, but
Said IKEA. Put up.
Unfortunately, a lot of the sites that I found myself going to kept interjecting Christ.
yeah, there are a lot of Christian sites. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got, I was wasting my time.
This site is called 6 Degrees of Kosher Bacon.
Okay.
That's funny.
This week's Parsha, so this guy is commenting on what we're reading on Truma. This week's Parsha is one of the driest in the 5 books.
Yeah.
It reads like a set of IKEA instructions. There's no story, and there's not even weird mitzvahs for you to ponder. It's all about building the special place called the Mishkan, a portable temple where God's holy presence can dwell.
Okay, so since we didn't really have to rebuild it, or we don't have to rebuild it right now ourselves, could we talk about why? I think it's more interesting to try to figure out why. You're saying that these instructions are here so specifically because somebody knew we'd have to be traveling through the desert. First of all, it had to be taken apart, put back together again. But also there would be a second temple, and David alludes to possibly a third temple. Is that, you think, the reason why we have so much time spent here on this?
Can you repeat the last part of that again?
Why do we have to spend so much time on it?
No, the last
Well,
part.
I didn't say so much time. I'm not going to be
A lot of
that.
time.
But why is it given this amount of detail? Could the reasons we've suggested so far be the only reasons?
Well, is it possible that they spend this much time on it because the Torah is describing the building of something that's holy, and you can't just throw something that's holy together. It has to be very specific. It has to be done very carefully. It's a very complicated process. Maybe.
It is terribly complicated. I mean,
but maybe that complexity comes from the fact that we're making something that is inherently different than anything else, anything that we usually build.
well,
I wonder what some modern Orthodox rabbis would say to that.
I think about, like, for example, when you fill the grave at a funeral. When I was up in Boston, the thing that you'd say is that the reason you hold the shovel, put the first shovelful in with the back, is to distinguish this act from all other acts of shoveling, because we do a lot of shoveling up north. And so we change the way we shovel at a funeral intentionally to distinguish that act from regular shoveling. In doing so, though, we make the act far more complicated. It's much harder to pick up earth on the back of a spade than it is using the front of the spade. And so I wonder if the very nature of creating something or building something that's holy necessitates or dictates that the process itself is more complex. You know what I'm saying? I guess what I'm saying is we're not, this isn't complex for the sake of being complex. It's not even complex. The rabbis don't even go into so much detail because it was hard to remember. They go into so much detail because that's what you do when you're discussing something the creation of something that's holy.
Yeah, I like that. That speaks to me. If you're building something where Hashem is that's going to be his abode among us, it's terribly, terribly special. And it has to be done. We don't know. We would not know how to make it special using ordinary tools and ordinary things. I don't know. It's very hard to explain.
Well, no, I like the way you just said that. So I'm looking at this site that had the IKEA picture on it, and he has a nice little Dvar Torah here, and he says that making something separate makes it special. In a religious context, the more separate you make it, the more holy it becomes, right? So a prayer book is holy, but a Torah scroll is much more holy. And so part of what they might be doing here is the complexity of this sets it apart. It makes it separate. You and I could not build this. I mean, I would give up on this in a heartbeat with all these details. It is something that really needs to be set aside and separate and different and complicated and all the other stuff. Just like when the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies, he had this whole getup, this whole complicated suit that he had to put on in order to do that.
Yeah, it is to be distinct from all other things, really distinct.
Why shall this night be different from all other nights?
Okay, but the essence of that question, that's a really beautiful, I don't know if you meant to do this, Lenore, but the essence of that question is, this night is different.
Yes.
It's not even the why. It's that this is different. This is special. It's holy, and it's going to be complicated. And look, being Jewish is a complicated thing. I mean, Passover is really complicated. You can't just sit down, say a blessing, and eat. You got the 14 steps and all this other, and you have the 3 matzahs, and which matzah do you hold now? And I mean, it's mishuga, it's craziness. Keeping kosher is really complex. I was just reading, what was I reading the other day about, oh gosh, I forget what the question was. But it was some ridiculous, again, the complexity of kashrut. And so, okay, now I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but this is all making me think that we live in a world today where more and more people want immediate gratification. I just watched, there's a YouTube video going, or I don't know if it's YouTube, but there's a video going around on Facebook of Simon Sinek. He became famous with a TED Talk that he did. He did a really nice TED Talk. But this one, it's just about a 10-minute video about millennials and how dealing with millennials are different. And one of the things he talks about is that is our need for immediate gratification, our need, like I'm a millennial, the need that millennials have for immediate gratification.
Yeah, well, that puts you right in that camp.
Yeah, it does, I guess. But you know, the need for immediate gratification and an impatience. You know, that I ordered something on, I think it was Friday from Amazon, and I have 2-day shipping. It's not coming till tomorrow. Why? Because of the holiday. But why? I mean, why didn't I have it? I mean, come on, 2-day shipping. And so we're not really good with complexity. We're not really good with the patience that it takes to, I think we're not, to analyze complex situations and questions, which is why I think so many people are frustrated with religion, because religion is inherently complex. And it's not, you know what, I'll give you a better example. So I sent out, I know that you saw this, Lenore, because I saw you commented on it, but I sent out an article the other day analyzing the Kerry Netanyahu kerfuffle, that whole thing. And the article is basically Kerry is right and Netanyahu is right, and neither of them know it about each other. And what I loved about the article is that everyone is blaming one or the other. Everyone is saying Netanyahu is right or Kerry was right. It's not one or the other. That's not life. Life is not that simple. It's not that straightforward. It's not you put A into B and then you're done. It's you need 50 clasps and 50 these and the curtains go over this. And I mean, it's complex. And Elu Elu, these and these are words of the living God. And we have lost, I think, a patience for that complexity and that nuance.
I totally agree, and I'm double your age. That definitely the millennial need for immediate gratification, that's definitely rubbed off on me at my advanced stage.
Meaning that you're less patient?
I'm less patient. I look for quicker answers. I also shop. So that I bought Prime on Amazon just to get that quicker, freer shipping.
Right.
You know, I don't go to a store anymore. I know the things that fit me, and everything's online. And you know, I do everything on my computer. So I've really lost the old touch. Excuse me.
I understand exactly what you're saying because I'm a little bit older too. And what you said, Rabbi, though, really what gets to me about that is that it rubs off that it becomes, hey, wait a minute, it's often rude to other people when you're not thinking of the postal workers who have to have off on their day off as well. It becomes something to do with ethical.
It's very self-centered. I agree with you. It's very self-centered.
We have to remember, too, that this Mishkan was being built with hands, not tools that we have. I mean, they needed extremely specific measurements and things, you know, exactly how to do these things.
They needed little fingers, actually.
Well, the other thing too is that we keep talking about IKEA instructions, but they had to build the parts before they could
Exactly.
the instructions.
Right.
Yes.
It didn't come pre-packaged in a flat box. You're right. Right.
So really,
Sound like my son Jeff.
when you think back to this being built, there are all kinds of reasons that aren't even religious as to why, you know, they're just the time. where the people were in terms of tools and so forth. But getting back to the religious, I just think it comes down to something terribly simple. This was to be an abode for Hashem. That is extraordinarily special.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of those words. Building a space on earth for God.
And anything extraordinarily special, that, I mean, even
simple.
less special than that, but anything extraordinarily special takes time.
It's not
Yes.
I listened to on Shabbos, my driving podcast that I listen to is called, what the hell is it called? I don't remember. It's a podcast. Oh, the Promised Podcast out of Israel. It's three crazy, fringy liberal people talking about Israeli politics and what's going on in Israel. It's a really, really nice podcast because even though they're crazy liberal, they're very, very smart and they analyze really beautifully. So they were yesterday. One of the things that they were talking about was some move in the Knesset about giving water subsidies to farmers in Israel. And the question is farming really important anymore in Israel? I mean, most of the food that they get in Israel apparently is imported, or a lot of the food is imported. And they export most of the food that they grow there. Certainly all the best foods are exported out of Israel because that's what the markets want. They want the best. They don't want the not so great. And so the question was, is farming important? And part of the conversation went back to the roots of the growth of Israel, the roots of the birth of Israel, and how important farming was when Israel began in the kibbutzim movement and all of that. And that it may not make sense financially, but there's a cultural history of farming. And here's the last part, and then I'll shut up, I promise. They were talking about how when they were growing up, these people, my age or older, every teenager in Israel spent at least a certain amount of time every year volunteering on a farm. Every single teenager worked on a farm at some point. And no one does that anymore. No one does that anymore. And they've lost that tactile memory, that they've lost that hands-on appreciation for what it means to take your time and build a land. Because now they're all at the Technion and Haifa University and startups and Google and everything else. It's not to suggest that those things aren't important or valuable or don't take time, but there's something different when you're using your hands, when you're getting down in. That's why for years, I built my own sukkah. I didn't have one of these pop-ups. Now I have a pop-up because I'm old and I'm lazy. But for years, I wanted to go to Home Depot. I wanted to get the PVC piping or the wood, and I wanted to put it together because there was something very earthy and tactile about that made Sukkot even more meaningful for me.
Are we going to meet at a new time in future?
Oh, yes, 12:30. So you get to sleep a half an hour extra.
On Tuesdays at 12:30, right?
Tuesday, 12:30, and I'll be in a different office.
And is that beginning next week?
No, I'm just.
Pain in my butt. Do you want to say hello? Come
Hi.
in. Okay, Dahlia says hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Dahlia.
Dahlia.
Hi, I haven't seen you in a minute.
Dahlia, Bubby says hi.
I'm sorry, say hi.
She's gone. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just making sure it's Tuesday next week, 12:30.
Tuesday next week at 12:30.
Okay,
And-
Andrew, I have a question for you if everybody leaves.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna turn off the thing in 1 second. But where are we leaving off? Are we leaving off at verse 26?
26 already?
No, sorry.
Yeah, we went bombing through. Yeah, let's start at 26 because I have a comment on that.
Okay, good. All right.
Verse 26, chapter 26, correct?
Chapter 26, verse 26. Yeah.